So, it's a real pleasure for me to be here. This has been a pretty remarkable couple of months of newsworthy items coming out of China. So I think this is a very good time to have a panel discussion. First is we've had some pretty profound rulings by the Chinese regulatory authorities, which I think might influence how you think about doing business and partnering in China. And then secondly, what I was trying to look for on my computer is that there was a recent Wall Street Journal article, which really, I think it was a Wall Street Journal, right? Yeah, that talked about China, the rise of China in the biotech industry, and so it's really coming up to like a high degree of innovation. So I was going to try to use that for some citing, but this China panel discussion is very appropriate for today. So with me today, I have Gina Song, who's the BD head over at Simcere. She's sitting over here to my left, and most of the people who are here on this panel I've worked with before. Larry Kai is with Qilu Pharmaceuticals, head of BD there. Alvin, Sir, right? Is that like I would say Sir? Is with Sir. He's with a family trust, so a family foundation. So we'll hear a little bit more about that. And then finally, we have Vanessa Lee, who I've worked with before from Kelun. So with that, I'd just like to open up the panel discussion and first have them, each of the panelists talk about, to introduce themselves, their company, and at a high level, and we'll work our way down the discussion here, and we'll come back with a series of questions afterwards. And we'll also take questions from the audience. So those of you who might have questions during the course of this discussion. Okay, so I'll start with Gina.
Okay, so thank you everyone for taking your time being here. I'm Gina. I work for business development of Simcere of America. We have a US entity here dedicated to doing the business development here. So Simcere was one of the leading fully integrated pharma in China. The company was started 20 years ago, and today we have over 4,000 full-time employees and over 50 drugs on the market. And over the past decade, in the past 10 years, we have fully developed and launched 3 new and proprietary drugs in the China market. So Simcere has been rewarded as the most top 10 innovative companies in China, pharma in China. A little bit of my personal background. So I joined Simcere last year, about 1 year ago. Prior to that, I was studying MBA at UC Berkeley. And prior to that, I was working in investment banking in China, focusing on the mainland China and Hong Kong stock market. And I was a biologist by training. I studied biology in Beijing.
Thank you, Gina. Larry.
Good afternoon, everyone. And my name is Larry Cai, and I work for Qilu Pharmaceutical, which is a privately held company in China. And it was established a little bit longer ago, 1958, kind of a very humble beginning, and has been growing tremendously in the last, I would say, 35 years, especially the last 15 years. I was joking with Rich earlier, saying I got to see this guy, every day since last Saturday, and he probably been in China more often than that. Yeah, that's why it's appropriate to have him moderating this panel. To a little bit about Qilu and its investment, it's more of we opened up a Qilu Boston Innovation Center just last month in the sort of a neighborhood of Boston, in Brighton. And the key there is, one is to establish R&D presence. We invested in a team called QLB Biotherapeutics, focusing on immuno-oncology using biologics, antibody. But also there is innovation center component, which is, I would call it an incubator with a twist, where we try to collaborate with local entrepreneurs, startups, or even a little bit more established biotech companies to provide what they need, whether it's a lab space or equipment or funding, so we can work together to build on the synergy each one has to move forward the programs, the projects where we can really benefit more patients in a global scale. We would like to leverage the innovation, the talent pool in the Boston area, and to really speed up the drug discovery and the development pace.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
My name is Alvin. My family is very few in China, last 2,000 people. It's the first Dynasty Kingdom in China, the family. So I 142 generation. Okay, my background is before I worked with the U.S. pharmaceutical company, originally in China, we have a licensing our one drugs to Novartis, and we also have a licensing to LG sites. And we have another fentanyl patch technology transferred into the Taiwan governments. So today I represent BC Pharma, Buchang. BC Pharma is a top 6 pharmaceutical company in China last year. We have 38,000 sales rep. We cover over 30,000 hospitals in China and 280,000 pharmacists. And also we cover 1.8 million doctors. So in past 3 years, we spent academia and the promotion is 2.5 billion US dollar. So last year our activity is for the BD is over 64,000 only in China. So right now we have looking for the licensing, co-development, distribution, JV, and MMA and the strategic investment. And we also have another arm. This is a pharma arm. Another is family office. We have 3 different family office. So we have investment over the 80 funds. So also we have investment in venture. So we have a direct investment in the early stage. So just in March, we just investment OncoResponse. So total 22.5 million. So Andy Anderson, Rice University, Arch Cannon, Healthing, and Vesta Pharma Venture is an investor. So we are looking for the opportunity for the innovative products penetrate into the China.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Vanessa.
Okay. Hello everyone, good afternoon, and I'm Vanessa Li, come from Kelun, and very glad everyone to be here. And I just confirmed with Alvin that I think most of the Chinese friends cannot read his last name. Yes, I'm coming from Kelun, and Kelun is founded in 1996, 20 years till now. And Kelun is a so-called the global, biggest global infusion product supplier, as we all know, within China. And about 5 years ago, the R&D head of Qilu Pharmaceuticals, R&D head coming to Kelun and begin to establish the pipeline and the R&D team of Kelun. So from then on, that we have, here now, we have already established 4 R&D centers, 3 within China, located in separately in Chengdu, Suzhou, and Tianjin, and 1 located in New Jersey. And the New Jersey side, it covered the U.S. generic drug discovery and also the biologics early stage discovery there. And I think until now, we have established a pipeline of novel drugs, almost 40, we have 40 projects, and most focused on oncology and on liver disease and infective disease. And we also have our novel drug covered the small molecular drug and biologics, and also the new drug delivery system. So that's the whole picture of Kelun. That we are eagerly to find some licensing in opportunity focus on the indications and the areas we are interested in. And we are also looking forward to out-licensing our ongoing projects, global rights, have potential partners to cooperate with our, win-win model, you know.
So if you could take a quick survey from the audience, just by hands, how many here are looking to out-license to China? Anybody here? Okay. There are a few things you probably want to know. How about in-license from China? No. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about some of the out-licensing areas and what's hot, what might be of interest to our panelists. So, in fact, I'll just go to Larry first. What areas would interest is of interest?
Well, actually, Vanessa covered a lot, basically all the stuff, because of the, I guess the lineage of the head of R&D. So when Dr. Wang was at Qilu, he set out he was there for 10 years and really helped Qilu build up its strategy and set up. We primarily focus on oncology. Qilu has more than 200 products on the market in China, and 45% of them are in oncology space. So you can see where our focus will be and is at. So oncology, and to be more specific, oncology. Most people here knows a lot of biotech companies. They will go with the rare disease orphan drugs, where you have a fast track, breakthrough designation, where you can go to the market with relatively fast-paced, smaller trials, and so on and so forth. Then you go for the large population. In Qilu's approach, we really look at our market and also just the situation in China, where you would think the standard treatment here is quite normal for and cutting edge for patients in China. So we might not look at the most cutting edge, very leading edge of the drug discovery, but more at the assets where we can help a lot more patients. As one shot, we put a lot of chemo drug and also first generic version of some of the targeted therapies onto the market. I think that tends to be our approach of we look at how we can help most patients at the fastest pace. And with that, outside of that, also look at just the patient, what are some other large disease in China. Vanessa mentioned liver disease is big. HCV is probably covered very well by Gilead and AbbVie, Johnson & Johnson, so to speak, but HBV is still a major concern, at least for the next 30 to 50 years. So that still presents a very big potential, for the pharmaceutical industry, and also really just present a big medical need. And there are also certain smaller aspects, but those two are the major focuses of Qilu Pharmaceutical.
Right. So for Alvin, you're going to invest in some of these companies potentially. So what are you looking for your investment strategy?
Okay. For the family office side, we have is a different strategy with the pharma side. Okay. So family office, we allocate the asset to different sectors. So healthcare is our main focus. Another, we have investment is a new economy around something like AI or IT. So we have investment a lot. And in the family office side, we have cross regions. So we have investment in US, Europe, Israel, and China. So in China, we think top 30, the VC fund, we're largest LP. And we also have investment different stages. So in the early stage VC, late stage VC, PE fund, and growth buyout, we have several there, because we think we need to looking for the ecosystem for the investment. So we have, we are thinking we investment because investment is a local business. So travel a lot doesn't make sense. So we couple with top tier the VC fund. So we can synergy each other. So helping the portfolio company penetrate into China, and we also have looking for some deal we can very early stage to find out, because many the good projects just in the inside internal is gone.
Okay.
Okay, so this is our thinking. And but in the pharma side is different. In the pharma side, we are looking for the because Buchang have 38,000 sales rep, so they have 13 different sales teams. It's cover very well. So looking for the biotech. So we have 5 biotech the company. And we also have looking for the pharma and med tech and services. So it's a full coverage. But in outside China, we don't have this kind of resource. So we will be focused on the pharmaceutical. But we're looking for is innovative products. So it's because we have 180 the pipelines. So we have a rich pipeline in China. So right now we're looking for the innovative products, because in the future, before the China, the regulatory change. So in that time, just doing the good enough products is enough. So in China, before.
So Larry made an interesting point though, which actually, I didn't really appreciate until he said it, which is to say, many Western drugs aren't necessarily available in China. And so what we might not consider to be innovative, certainly China might consider to be innovative. So you want to just, tackle that for a second?
Yeah. So in the future, we think good enough products is not enough. They need to truly innovative products in the world products. Because right now, CFDA just submission into the ICH guidance, so it means third-party data will be accepted in the CFDA. And on the other hand, the China changed the policy is 3 submission, 3 approval. Right now, 2 submission, 2 approval. So it means 3 submission, 3 approval means will be delayed 5 to 6 years if you prove by the US. But the 2 submission, 2 approval means maybe can same time. You can is a global trial in the US and China. They can accept in the CFDA. So it's huge to change.
So Gina, I mean, when you look for in-licensing, are you looking for something that might come online simultaneously, or are you looking for something that's proven already in the West?
The quick answer is we are looking for both. But in terms of, in order to replenish our pipeline, we are looking for from IND enabling to POC stage. Because at that stage, we can not only in-licensing the product, but also we can contribute to our partner. The China data can be part of their global development, and we can contribute more to our partner, not just cutting out the China rights, leaving to your partner alone. But we also hope that by leveraging our clinical development capability in China, we can bring the data to our partner and a high quality, high set of data, and contribute to their partner.
Yeah, Vanessa, do you have some similar thoughts, or you share similar thoughts to what everyone's saying?
Yeah, I think I agree with Gina's thoughts that is the stage, discovery stage from POC and IND is our preferred. But the early stage, we think, early than this early, is also that we are interested in, which means because I think the company we said there is we already established a very complete drug discovery pipeline and the drug discovery, the discovery chain in China. We have a preclinical evaluation team. we have preclinical and clinical bridge team, so we can bring more valuable data to our potential partner and contribute a lot to our potential collaboration. So that is the very key point.
Thank you, thank you. So I'll open up the floor to any questions. Just raise your hand. Anybody have any questions? Yeah, no? Someone's gonna get bold eventually. Okay, so I hear a few things, right? I hear therapeutic areas of interest, you know, on the China market that would include oncology and I guess virology, meaning hepatitis in particular. I heard inflammation in there somewhere, right?
Yes, autoimmune, yeah.
Autoimmune disease. All right, so I hope all of you are working in those 3 areas. Okay, sure. Pardon?
What about respiratory?
Respiratory. Any respiratory interests?
Well, respiratory is definitely a large area in China, but unfortunately not one of our core areas.
Okay. And yeah, please.
Continuous blood pressure without calibration, without any kind of cuff in a wearable?
Device. So device.
Device depends. Right now, China device for the investment side is growth very fast. So, but depends because in U.S. and China is a different market and a different pathway to regulatory. So it depends products.
So some of you must be, who's early in this audience? Just raise hand. Early means what? Preclinical? Preclinical, right? Discovery stage still? Or
No, but not in patients yet.
okay, not in patients. Okay. So what are you looking for? Is it investment opportunities or partnering? I mean,
Well, it's for us. It's an opportunity to maybe bring in some non-dilutive funding that will make the existing investors and the new investors a little bit happier in terms of the next round of funding. But I actually have a question for you as companies looking to the United States for potential assets. Like, what's the sweet deal for you? Like, what do you want to bring home back to the company and say, this is what I got, and these are the terms, and you know, what is it that you guys want out of this?
Okay. For the pharma side, okay.
For a therapeutic in oncology.
Okay.
Make
So,
it easy for you.
yeah, is oncology. We have OncoResponse. It's a preclinical stage, so we have investment, but this is just an investment. So we will be if they have human data, so will be another discussion with the BD. So all the BD the team, the member is GSK, the BD the head in China. And also we have in US, we have another team member. They have licensing over 400 in the big pharma, licensing are over the 40. So they have a very experienced. So they're looking for but they are looking for is a phase 1 later. Okay, they need to human data. But for the investment side, we can invest for early stage.
And would that be as a co-developer, or is that?
We can do
as
it
an out-licensing?
co-development and licensing. 10 years ago, I represent the U.S. pharmaceutical company, so we leveraging the different regulatory in China and the U.S. So in that time, we have we just last 1 year we getting the human data. And we have a preclinical data in the U.S. We licensing out to Novartis just 3 months later. And we also have investment in China, the Pharmaceutical Association. They have a ranking the top tier in the globally the biological drugs based in the China the company. They have a ranking the top 3 is investment by us. So right now it's a parallel in the phase 3 U.S. and China is Neugene, not biosimilar. Another is first in class two drugs is phase 2 in the U.S. and China also. the scientific advisory board is David Lindsay. So we have a couple of us. So in that time, in China, because if you have China preclinical data, Australia is a set. So and then phase 1, the Australia the data, U.S. FDA is a set. So this is a very fast pathway. And we also have helping the company to penetrate into China is another medical device instrument. So another pathway, because in U.S. You need to going to do the clear lab. You can sell, and then submission into the FDA. Maybe 3 years you're getting approval. But in China you need another 3 years. But if you bring into the China the CFDA can direct approve. So we have done deal. We bring the superficial instrument into the China. So September we will be getting approval. So
Okay.
you were very fast.
So we have a question in the front.
Yes, I've heard various discussions of healthcare, innovative products, device, etc. And I also heard from Larry how maybe you were looking at some of the older products, but then I hear from Alvin about how things are changing and that products could come on simultaneously. But one of the hottest areas in the United States and Europe is, as you well know, an area called digital health. And in digital health, the pharmaceuticals, therapeutics, and medical devices, diagnosis, they all are continual gray areas. But I didn't hear any interest in digital health. And I would very much like to know, is anybody interested? Because if you look at 2012, there was almost zero investment in that area. And it is projected by 2020 to be $8 or $10 billion in investment. So I just am interested in your views.
So when we start with I'll start with Gina first, and then we'll take another view on top of that.
That's actually a very interesting question, because I remember just in the last week I talked to a digital health company, and he explained about half an hour to me about his technology and the business model, and I have no idea what he is talking about. So I think the problem here is the U.S. market, in terms of the reimbursement, in terms of the infrastructure, the two markets are too different.
But if I could interrupt you, you mentioned how you're going to follow what the FDA is doing and maybe simultaneous clinical trials and sharing clinical trials. But if everything gets digitized, how are you going to compete?
Yeah, I think that's very interesting, because I think I just talked to a company who is trying to enter a market, who is trying to digitalize all the submission, the filing to FDA, and they think there is a big, huge market in China. And I think just 2 weeks ago, CFDA issued a policy that electronic filings is acceptable to CFDA right now. So they think there are a huge potential to unleash in China. But the problem I see here is, so first of all, you need to think, you need to be localized. So not only the drugs, but also you need to communicate with the CFDA, because I think there is a very strict requirement in terms of the data transferring out of China. So they are collecting data in China of the patient's population. So it's almost not possible for you to transfer the data out of China. So you really need to be localized, then you can talk to the CFDA. So that's my initial thought.
Vanessa?
Yeah, actually I have no communication before about the
Okay,
digital
Alan?
content. Yeah.
Sure.
We have investment lot this kind of area. So 2.5 years ago, we have a angel fund investment, healthcare, the big data company in China. So end of the last year, the Alibaba gave $1 billion US want to acquire the company. So we also have investment. Another is internet hospital. Okay, but they have a license in China governments. So we are second largest shareholder. So in that time, the company they just have 30,000 physician in the platform. So in the just 3 months, we bring the 260,000 doctor into the platform. So and then Sequoia is going to do lead in the next one. So digital health is a growth, but it's a difference, totally different with U.S. and China, because reimbursement and another the healthcare system is a difference, totally difference.
That's true, but both U.S. and China and the rest of the world has a common goal, and that's to lower healthcare costs.
Yeah, that's right.
And my own feeling is there's going to be a merger of understanding of digital health because the commonality of lowering healthcare costs is the same.
Yeah, this is the same, but it's a different approach.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're looking for the U.S., mainly the digital health system, but we're looking for, we don't have an investment because in China it's a different market. So in my point of view is if you're doing the China market, you need to learn the Chinese culture and the market. You play in the Chinese way. But also we told them the Chinese player going to the U.S. is the same way. You need to learn the U.S. and U.S. system and play U.S. way. It's a difference.
So when I think about digital health in the United States, I do think a lot about prevention and active monitoring and things of that nature. At least my view, what I've seen in China is that we're still playing a catch-up game on the therapeutics. So I think it's probably fair. Larry,
I would like to just comment a little bit why we are not interested in digital health, because honestly we don't have the expertise, we don't have the experience in that. What we have been doing for the past 35 years was just to leverage what we have done in the past and really build on and focus on the quality and really lower. You brought up a great point in lowering the cost of healthcare. What we have contributed was really trying to provide the affordable therapeutics for the masses. That's why Qilu is the first Chinese company to make the generic version of Gefinitiv before end of last year, and really approved by the US FDA as well. So before that, AstraZeneca has basically a monopoly of that. To a certain degree, they have Zhejiang Beida in terms of for the non-small cell lung cancer, but Qilu has really brought a viable option to that and to help the patients, and that's what we have been focusing on for the last 35 years and more. Really focusing on the quality. That's why we have products all over the world in over 70 countries, and not just API as well as drug products. So that's how we view this, our approach. Early on this, in the morning I was on a different panel and we talked about Qilu's approaching innovation. We are the new kids on the block, there's no other way to put it, and we are really dipping our toes in the in this water and trying to see what we can do, not just to say we're looking for a certain opportunity to in-license, but also what we can contribute. Gina brought a great point, as well as so the other panelists with the local company, you really have the good understanding with local agencies in CFDAs and all that. It's getting very close to the Western standards with the circulation of the guidance, as well as the becoming part of it. However you look at it, is ICH organization, and it will only facilitate the innovation. And what we can contribute is really look at what our strong suits are, and taking measured step to really becoming a valuable player in this whole ecosystem.
So I mean, that's an interesting point, because when you think about Fitbits, things of that nature, I think that's more of a novelty, let's say, in China right now.
But when I think of digital health, I don't think of Fitbit.
No. But
So I think in investment side point of view, this is a very hot to looking for, because this is the future.
yeah,
So we have an
The
investment.
future.
We're looking for a lot.
yeah. Yeah, I think that this would be a really good topic. Let's say a year or two from now, we'll come back to this. I think it'll be a much more interesting, more vibrant
But I
topic.
remember the last time BIO was held in San Diego, digital health had a panel almost all afternoon, and it was discussed. And that's what's exciting. When you see investments go from 2012 of zero
Sure.
to 20 billion
Sure.
in 8 years, you know that's transformative. And Alvin, you mentioned innovative products. Well, you know they're going to come here.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's just a time gap right now
Right.
where we can have. I see another question.
Well, I think that China is really driving digital health. We have a strategic partnership with a company called More Health, CITIC funded and just recently did a Series B with them. And they are pushing us to implement our AI-based engine, which does predictive analytics for, AI-based predictive analytics for health and activity management. We don't have enough resources to actually be able to do their implementation. And they're actually wanting to pay us more and more just to be able to get their implementation prioritized, because they see so much demand from their platform. And they're doing that exact thing where they're actually almost like a internet hospital in a sense. So I think that, at least from our perspective, we're seeing a lot of pull from China.
Well, that's interesting, because we hear a lot in China, but it seems it's much more of a, from what I've seen, following what's happening outside of China and then following that curve. But that's a very interesting point.
But I agree with
Yeah.
Alvin. People outside of China has to understand what does digital health mean to the Chinese.
That's right.
And
That's right.
vice versa. But it's also true for Korea, Japan, and many other ways.
Yeah.
They're all digitizing, they're all moving, but it means different things and it's implemented in different ways. But what's going to be transformative is when people understand where the world is going, because as I said, everybody has a common goal. And the only way we can, in the United States, lower healthcare costs from about 17 or 18% of GDP is through digital health and what it offers. That's the only way.
Right. So, but I think China faces different kinds of issues, though, right?
Right, but they still want to be efficient and
Yeah,
effective
absolutely,
on
absolutely.
healthcare. And if you're going to do, parallel clinical trials, and the Americans are digitizing their clinical trials, how is it going to work?
Sure.
So
That's a really good point.
these are
Very good
questions,
point.
there's no solution.
Very, very good points. That's right. Okay, so I think we're getting close towards wrap up. I think it's only there's 10 more minutes, so we could have some more questions from the audience. Yeah, please.
So my company makes a research tool to automate cell culture, stem cell culture, iPSCs. Is there much of a research market in China? And any thoughts on finding a partner for distribution, also an investor? So our principal market is pharmaceutical research, drug discovery, drug development.
So, yeah.
Okay, this is, I think I can introduce some partner to you. Okay, because this is a growth is very fast in China. So maybe we can talk later.
Sure.
Yeah. But for the pharma side is a different business. Yeah.
You actually brought up a great, question. Actually, you think about it. The Chinese, in terms of farmers doing R&D and quite a bit is with a lot of government support and industry and also the VCP investment. But on the other hand, you look at Qilu is setting up actually 3 R&D teams in the U.S.
Mhm.
One in Seattle, one in San Francisco, and the largest one is in Boston. Why we make the decision to go this way? It's because we look at the landscape of research and development, and here it still truly is the hotbed, and where you have barrier to entry. In China, where you have on top of everything, first off, you have 17% VAT, value-added tax right there, and also you have the how to say the time lag. A lot of times you will have a reagent request, you can have those, but generally it's 2-3 months lag, where you have to wait until the bulk shipment. Where in the U.S., where most of the time you can get it overnight, right?
Yeah.
So you look at that, you just see where the market is, and I wouldn't pretend to be the expert in that, but I just laid out the situation for you to think about where you want to enter, where you want to expand your business.
Right.
So as we start to wrap up in the next few minutes, I just want to cover one additional topic, and that is, since most of your early stage companies, what are you looking for with an early stage company in terms of a partnership? I mean, us, Gina.
We have a variety of, in terms of the type of deals, like for very early stage, like the preclinical or even before preclinical, if we really consider the technology or the product can be disruptive, we prefer just making a small amount of equity investment in a company without any strings attached. We want to contribute to the company, to the technology innovation, and see how it grows. But for licensing deals, we prefer like preclinical with preclinical data at least. For small molecules, in vivo data is a threshold. For large molecule, cell line is the threshold.
Okay, Larry?
Yeah, actually, Mike, right? Earlier you have that question about, just say, for oncology, what type of assets will be interesting to Qilu. I would say, when we look at Gina brought it up, you look at the investment, there is a platform versus asset. There's a constant tug of war in between those two. But for us, it's most likely look at it, really taking a further look and see how much patient can this asset help, in China. We are very, I would say, over the years of development, we have a very good relationship and also the experience in developing assets in China onto the market. We are less, I would say, to a degree interested in flipping it after phase 2 or something. Most likely, we want to take it all the way onto the market to help as many patients as possible.
So do you, as that clinical asset is being developed in the U.S., is China, are you also developing it in China in parallel?
Yeah, that's the thing. We, coming this morning, I had a discussion with, do you want to have a multinational to come into China to do it, or you want to partner with a local Chinese company to do that? I think the track record speaks for itself, and it's pretty straightforward. It's much more advantageous to work with a domestic company in China. There's just, we don't want to get into too much of that. Why is that? But everyone knows that. But that's the asset aspect. But on the other hand, Alvin, Gina, and Vanessa also mentioned about the laying out the foundation for the future. With all the emphasis about helping as many patients as possible, but we also want to look at the things will be developing. The way I would recommend everyone here not familiar with China is don't look at China as a still photo. Look at it as a moving picture, where things are constantly evolving. And what we have done right now doesn't mean we're not laying the foundation for the future. We have done sponsored research with Harvard Medical School, Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in doing these things, but with all the things, having the shot on target and the focus on what will this lead us to, whether or not we can help as many patients as possible. From the very beginning, it's always about the patient. That has been Qilu's foundation and the cornerstone from the day one, and it will be continuing for the next.
Vanessa, you want to add into that?
Or
Yeah, okay.
okay.
So in Buchang side, in the early stage, we can do the investment for the family office. And in the pharma side, we're looking for the co-development in the China. And also in my experience, we have several leverage the different market pathway for the regulatory. So we're doing a lot this kind of projects. So I think licensing, we're looking for the accumulated products. Preclinical, we will be doing the investment work, co-development. Yeah.
Okay, Vanessa.
Yes, I think with the now I agree with Larry that the potential partners outside China should see China as a moving picture, not moving picture only, but also a fast-moving picture, because not only the policy delivered by CFDA recently not only focus on the accelerated clinical trial performance, but also the threshold, lower the threshold, higher the threshold of the generic drug. It's the only purpose is to narrow down the gap between the Chinese R&D and the U.S. criteria. So I think there should be a very smaller gap between Chinese companies and ex-China and the multiple nation companies. So I want to focus one point that besides the product itself, we are currently focused on the next generation of technology, which will bring into our own, interest in the indication and our interested areas to make to give the newborn of new generation of product, which is more important for us.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to let the panelists give one sentence or two sentences of closing thought for everyone here. So Gina.
I would say, so in ASCO, China, there is a Nanjing company from considered as a black horse at ASCO. I think China is the biggest black horse in terms of the global drug development in the next coming years. So stay tuned.
Okay. So for those of you who want to do a deal, talk to Gina.
Yeah, I think Qilu is someone really have a very single-minded. It's just to help patients, and that's from everything we do. Everything else is all flexible in terms of deal structure, in terms of stages of investment. Everything just all fall into place once you have your mindset on something that will be really transformational for the patients in China and to a larger extent later on to the patients worldwide.
Thank you. Alan.
Okay, I want to say, if you want to investment, please contact us. If you want to licensing, please contact us. Okay, and also we have JV Fund in Canada Perkins. We have also had a MedTech, especially focused MedTech fund. So JD is a top tier founder. So please contact us.
Okay, Vanessa.
Yes, I want to emphasize that as Kelun, based in China, we are a top 10 pharmaceutical company, but facing the world, we would like to see us as a biotech. So we are open for a very flexible potential collaboration model to the interesting field and indications.
Okay, thank you. And I just, for closing on my end, I mean, this was a great discussion, great audience participation. And I learned, I think there's more to come on the digital health and side of things. We'll hear more. And the AI was actually kind of an interesting comment because I don't normally think of China within the context of a leader in AI. So more to come. All right. So thank you all for your active participation.
Yeah, thank you.